this is what we're looking at. So if you can see down in there, there's a snap ring, and we have to get that out to be able to pound the bearing out the other way. We're gonna go ahead and I'll show you guys how we do that in just a minute. Gives you a little bit of a better view of what we're dealing with here. And all I got as for tool wise is a pair of needle nose and a pick. And I'm gonna try and do this without getting in the way too much. So you're probably gonna reach down in here and you're probably gonna squeeze, and you're not gonna be able to squeeze. So it's tight. So that means is we have to get a hammer and a chisel, pound down in 4 corners a couple times. So now we're able to grab a hold of this thing. It's much better if you do have a pair of big snap ring pliers, but it's all right. We'll make do with what we got. This is for the average Joe. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to stick my pick in the back here, try and get it underneath the snap ring when I squeeze here. You're not gonna be able really to see what's going on, but so you squeeze the snap ring. Like I said, it wants to squeeze. All right, so I'm gonna squeeze it about as hard as I can and try and slide that pick underneath. As you can see, I got it. I moved the camera away because I had to be like directly over it, and that's what kind of did it. So I was able to use my left hand to squeeze the ring, snap ring together. And then what I did was when I was over top of it, I squeezed this with my left hand, and I was able to move it when I squeezed it enough where I saw that the edge of the ring was past the edge of the slot, and I was able to pop it up quick. And then once you do that, it's free. Alright, so this part is pretty easy. So I got my big 3-pound sledgehammer and my block of wood that's too small. As you can see, it took the form of the last bearing. So I'm hoping that it'll help it just kind of glide in there and get it out. So I'm just gonna go ahead and beat this thing. Just gonna go ahead and hit it. Again, 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 and there she popped. So now I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna get a different punch, and we'll get the other race out of there. This thing will be ready to be cleaned up. So it helps if you have a little bit of a long punch. I know you can't see it in there, but the race is way down in there. So we're gonna go ahead and get right on the edge of it. We're just gonna go ahead and go all the way around using these notches as a reference point.
Look at this camera, guys.
Alright, I can feel it moving. Alright, so we're out. I just heard it hit the concrete. So that's it. So that's how you pull one of these apart. So that's a caliper.
Yeah, that's caliper. Put it right on the pickup truck.
Well, I'll spare you the boredom of me cleaning this up. Just using a wire wheel, and then I'll tape the ends off, tape the threads, paint it, and then when I get the other bearings and I'm ready to start rebuilding on these, I'll bring it back in to show you. We're gonna go ahead and put the new bearing in the bottom. And this is a Timken. This is what I would recommend. Like I said previously, actually I couldn't get both Timkens, so these are what I got. It's an LM 104911 is the race, and then the bearing itself is a LM 104949. And I'll tell you the other one later when we get to there. So actually this goes in first, and then we're gonna put it upside down. That means big end down against here. Get it flat again. There we go. Oh, no. Okay, sure, get in there. Now, okay. Now, it'll straighten up when we get the race in. down in there. First, I'm going to take a little bit of oil. I'm going to coat the inside here. Like that. Oh, too much. Perfect. Just a light coat here. We just don't want to put it in dry. There's that, and I'll just rub the extra on my finger on the outside just to help it go in a little bit better. So we're going to drop that in there like that, get it as straight as we can, and there we go. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take the old race, and we're just going to go ahead and drop that in there like that. And then all we're going to do is I'm going to take this wood block here, and I'm just going to get it started by kind of beating around the edges. Like I said, this is not really the right way to do it, but that's what I got, and I don't feel like buying the tools. So I'm just going to push that down in there best I can. And I'm going to take my hammer, start one side, just kind of move around in a circle. Alright, I want to make sure I got this thing started right. Okay, so it looks like I can actually go a little bit more this way, which I'm just going to use the block of wood itself. There we go. I heard it start now. Make sure, you don't get a little wood shavings in there. Probably better with a piece of brass or something, but I don't have one. So this is what I got. So I'm going to go back to using the second race. Just going to Alright. Well, before I get that stuck in there, I want to make sure we're still lined up right. And now I'm going to switch to my punch. Now, it's not going to take much. So I'm just going to start. Looks pretty even, so I'm just going to start up top here. Just going to a little bit at a time. Pretty much just letting the hammer fall. Now, doing this, you could mess up the bearing when you get a little bit closer, but if you're careful, you'll be okay. Now, again, this would be much better with a brass punch, so you're not beating the race up, but these races are actually very, very tough. Alright, I think it's down all the way. Good way to tell is you won't be able to really move the bearing. Okay? You can hear that tone change. So now we're just going to wipe around in there. Get anything out. Okay, we're pretty clean. Alright, so now we got our snap ring, wiped it down. So now, what I did last time was I kind of put this down in there, twist it, turn it in, and I pushed it down until it stopped. Alright, so that's pretty good. I'm going to take my needle nose pliers, I'm going to stick them straight up and down, and to keep them in there while I grab it, I'm going to put my finger and keep some pressure against that. And what I'm going to do is try and put the back in first. So I think I got that started enough that I can take my punch, kind of just work it around here. Just kind of, you'll hear it snap. Just work it around, work it down in there. It's not really the right way, but it's getting it done. So is it really wrong? Hear it snap. Beat this one down, snap, and that's it. Flip this back over because we need to push the race back down against the ring. So I have a little tiny punch, and I'm just gonna use these slots, and I'm just gonna go around in a circle until I hear it hit the ring. Just keep going around. That doesn't sound like it hit. That might be enough. Looks fairly even. Okay, so I'm going to flip it back around and look in there. And a good indicator that you got it up against the ring would actually be to try and squeeze again. Squeeze the ring, because if you remember when we took these apart, you couldn't really squeeze it. So I can still squeeze this fairly easy, so we're not quite down against yet. Same thing, you push over on that bearing, give her a nice slap, hit. Alright, I think we're good now. Oh yeah, it looks nice and tight now. Let's see. Oh yeah, I can't really grab that. Oh yeah, I can't squeeze that easily, so that's when you know it's set down there. These are Nationals, and just so you know, 382A, and that is actually the Timken number as well. And the bearing is a 387AS, and that is also the same in Timken. And I would recommend Timkens, but Nationals are pretty good themselves as well. So now we have to take this one, and this is actually taper down because this bearing just sits in there. So we gotta sit it like this, and I'm gonna take just a tickle of oil here, like that, and I'm just gonna kind of get it all the way around to give it a fighting chance going in, because my last one was a little tricky, but we got her done. Alright, so that's good. I'm gonna wipe out this one more time, make sure and feel around, make sure we don't have any burrs. And we're going to take this one all the way down to that ledge. So, okay, give it a little bit of a push down in there. And then we take the old one. We take the old one. Alright, and what we're going to do is we're just going to one side and then the other. Get it started. Make sure it's fairly even. Okay, it's going down evenly. That's good. Okay, we're gonna go back to the punch. It's not really the best thing to do, but we're gonna have to do it. So, same thing, you just kind of work your way around and make sure you don't get on the ledge of the hub. Alright, so we're against, I can tell because of the sound. Hear that? Yep, so we're down against. I'll wipe this out again. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna coat the outside of this. Not a lot, just a little. And then just take my finger, kind of just coat it. Put that in there like that. Now what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna spin this bearing, and I'm gonna Actually, you don't have to do that. Just kind of put some gear oil in there. Alright. And we'll just spin it. Get that worked in there. Alright. So now we're going to put the seal in, turn it over, and grease or lube up the other side as well. So I didn't really want to use this seal. This is a DriveWorks seal, but you know, the number, if you want the national seal, is just 710568. I just didn't want to wait for them, although I should have, because they would have been in today anyway. But I'm just going to lube up just a little bit, not much. Just a little to help this get in there. Just get the seal wet. Okay. Then I'm going to switch hammers. Soft face hammer. Okay, and that's that. You want to try and hit right in here and try not to bend down the outside lip. Then we're going to turn this guy over like that. Take a little bit of oil, kind of just go around. Go around. You don't want to put a lot in because it's going to be leaking everywhere. With the GM bolt, or the 14 bolts, you don't need to put a bunch of grease in here. It's just oil based. So now I'm gonna nice and quiet now. That's good. And that's how you rebuild a Chevy 14 bolt 10.5. I'm pretty sure the 11.5 inch rear is also the same.